In this position, Chernev has just gone on a massive rant saying why h3 is a bad move. He's then gone and praised h6. What's going on? Welcome to the second episode of my logical chess series. Let's get on with it. So this takes on a similar structure, well exactly the same structure, Italian structure, as the previous game. If you've not seen that, I'll put the link above, where white plays this move, which is criticised by Chernev because it's a little bit slow, where the knight, in a typical logical development sense, as per Chernev, wants to go into c3, the pawn blocks it. The idea behind c3 is d4. Now, in the previous game, we saw, what did black play? Black played queen e7. In this game, black moves a bishop all absolutely fine because we're trying to counter the d4 pawn move. If you're not sure why this is a good move and why queen e7 is a good move, then you need to go back to video 1. I do really like the way Chernev has chosen these very similar openings. And, to choose an Italian structure, it shows that clearly, even back then in 1957, he knows that a lot of beginner players, a lot of developing players are going to see these type of structures. Sometimes you get books where they're supposed to be for beginners or, developing players, 1200 players, whatever, and then they show you some complicated opening. This is perfect. Well done, Chernev. White carries on with d4, and what we don't want to do is give white what they want. Why do that? Why give white the pawn center they want? Don't need to do that. Then white's got a dangerous attack, pushing these pawns forward. But instead of this move, taking the pawn, you just play queen e7, which is really similar position to the first game. We're on move 5. Let's just compare the position after move 6. So black plays queen e7, white castles, and knight plays knight f6. Let's just compare this position. So this is a position in game 1. White has got exactly the same setup from game 1 to game 2. But black differs here in the fact that we have d6 on the board here instead of knight f6. Let's have a look how that plays out in game 2 after the next few moves. Back to the current game, instead of a4, a5, white tries d5 in this position. And what does Chernev say about this? Chernev's not happy about it because if we look at what this does actually, it decreases the scope of the white bishop, it increases the scope of the black bishop, and it's yet another pawn move when the pieces are not developed. It's that logical process again of developing pieces, not pawns. How does black respond? Black obviously first moves the knight back to b8. So moving back the bishop, this is the point. Because the knight is on the pawn, the bishop has to move again. So after that move, we've got a similar structure as the previous video. What move is it then? Where the computer's going to go, oh my god, no. Is it going to be the next move that Chernev really, really hates? Let's have a look. Computer currently is plus 0.8, plus 0.7. It's now plus 0.4. A slight inaccuracy. So I am not going to run this as a computer versus Chernev series at all. I'm going to run it from a human understanding, looking at the analysis, because we can't just flick on engines when we're playing a computer game, right? So Chernev really, really hates this move. Computers not so much, but I'm going to turn the engine off. We're looking at Chernev. Chernev really doesn't like this because he sees this, again, like the first game, as just an unnecessary weakness that black, if you remember that first game, can just whack off that pawn at some point and bring the pieces away. So he doesn't like this move. What about the next move? h6. Well, this is the position at the start of the video. Exactly. And Chernev criticises this move. Don't need to go into that. But he really, really praises h6. Why is that? It's because the h6 move is not to try and prevent a pin that black might not want to play anyway. It's the start of an attack. Black's not castled. White has. We've got some active pieces. Let's go for that kingside attack. I mean, the first section of this book is all about the kingside attack. The h6, in short, it's not a defensive maneuver. It's an aggressive one because we're going to do this. Bang the pawns forward and just checkmate white. Let's have a look how it happens. Queen e2. Straight away, g5, g4 is on the cards. And white is now playing defensive. And I bet now the Mr. Engine will not like this position for white. Shall we flick on and have a look? You've got my word for it, it's a live chess one. Plus 0.02. So with good defensive moves, white is okay, about equalish. But I know you probably agree that it's harder to defend, much harder to defend than it is to attack. And it's much easier playing the aggressor in a game of chess than it is defending. G4, what else? This pawn to open up lines. Let's look at what white does. takes, and then we move the rook right, bang opposite the king. And these are the sorts of positions that coffee house attacking players like myself really like. You know, just go for the king and have a crack. Because you're not playing stockfish. We're not playing stockfish. We're just amateur players. And amateur players make big mistakes. They don't like defending. What does the computer think in this position? Oh, now we're on black. Straight away, we're favouring black. Quite naturally. What's wrong with bishop takes pawn here? It just opens more lines, I think, to the attack. And it's not really in keeping with the defensive structure. Grabbing pawns. What could white have done instead? Maybe maneuver these pieces. Certainly the knight into defence rather than grabbing hopeless pawns. So that's a lesson in itself. Let's keep going. And this already looks completely hopeless for white. From just a few moves ago, equalish with the right defensive resources. Forget about it. Bang. Queen comes in. And then we've just got a huge amounts of threats in the position. Moves like this, I really like. Just taking advantage of the pin. All in common chess patterns. Right. Creates more weaknesses. And got the rook shifting over. This is just curtains. Bang. There you go. Checkmate. What's the overall message from this game? What's the overall learning point that we can take from it? Weak pawn moves again. Developing, black just develops and develops. This is no good, this pawn move anyway. It kicks the knight. Positive, negative, blocks the bishop, opens this bishop. It's another pawn move. So 3 negative points against this move. Only 1 positive that the knight's kicked back. 3 versus 1, I'll take that any day. Another negative that white's got to defend the pawn as well. And another pawn weakness in the position. But that is defendable if you're a really strong player. But against, amateur players, creating weaknesses for no reason, not usually a good idea. Black then sees that as a red flag, smashes the pawns forward, and just plays tactically. Bang, game over. I do hope you're enjoying this series. If you do, whack me a thumb up and all of that business. You'll get the next video there. I never can get my thumb right when I do that because it's like, you get my thumb there. That's it. There we go. That's the next video. Cut, take. That's the next video. That's a complete playlist. Anyway, thanks for watching. Goodbye.